John. Yeah, it's Tuesday, the 23rd of December 2014, and I want to call the President of the Legislative Council in Australia, Victoria State Government, because I've just sent the letters, affidavits to Alex Chernov not to use Queen Victoria as their authority of monarch to Westminster Parliament and government in Britain, UK. It is an offence for them to do that because they've written in their manual on the day today the traditional way of how Parliament is set up in Westminster, where Prince Charles brought in the military police to arrest the MPs who are voting against the interests of Westminster. We're in that stage now where it says quite clearly that they'll be arrested or killed if they compromise Westminster Parliament and the authority of the monarch itself. Queen Victoria is not in our interests to be in Westminster as Australia, Commonwealth of Australia, Federal State of Australia, and the state of Victoria, where they founded Melbourne. From Prime Minister Melbourne is the British Prime Minister at the time. So Queen Elizabeth has corrupted the Queen Victoria title. She has vacated her position in Westminster and left the lands of England for Brussels in the European Union Parliament as a threat now. Now everything connected to her is fraud, as we have proven online. In 7 years has expired of unrefuted affidavits. So we are making them real now and legislating them into law. When I go to Westminster and go to Devonport, King William Yard, as his authority that got you onto those lands in Australia through his Acts of Westminster Parliament, 1830 to 1837, and the 1835 Declaration of Independence flag that belongs to us. Okay, so that's the ruling authority of Admiralty mortgages of the Bank of England that allowed the immigrants there, the pirates in Australia, and the immigrants to New Zealand here, and India, Africa, America, Canada, Australia and Britain. Okay, so they came from Devonport, England, to Australia and New Zealand. So what I want to do now is ring and tell them personally over the phone that we're recording now, and I'll record it on phone, that I'm telling them as a surrogate King of England that they have no authority to usurp or use as legal instruments of their sovereignty to Westminster. In fact, they cut themselves off in 1901 and went independent of Britain. So they can stay right out with having Queen Elizabeth all that time till now, 2014, to decide to want to go back to Queen Victoria. No, you're not going back into Westminster, because I'm telling Alex Salmon, the past first Prime Minister of Scotland, to stop them from going there. And I wrote to David Cameron, and that's online on Facebook. Everything's admissible in the High Court of Admiralty in London, and also in the High Court of Admiralty of King William IV, Parliament and Government in Devonport, England, and also Devonport, New Zealand, where we're taking our authority of his ruling Admiralty imperial state government laws. Okay, we're taking his laws as our laws of today from 1830 to 1837, where we get our authority straight as the King of England. I'm saying I'm the King of England, and that we have the right to null and void Australia and their decision to use Queen Victoria, a convicted person now with Elizabeth, corrupting her title with Rothschilds, bearing kids to Queen Victoria while she was still married to Prince Albert. Okay, so that's another offence of the mafia, of the cabal family of the Rothschilds, and King George I, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth and the sixth, and Queen Victoria between King George V. Okay, King George V after King George IV. King George IV is the brother of King William, Henry, George. So he was pulled aside out of the George line. So he's not featured in the George corrupted family that we're going to get rid of in Westminster and rid of every other state using Admiralty, court-martial law and the bank pound notes authority of King William IV. I'm taking that authority now, so I'm going to ring up and you'll hear me talk to someone in the office of this man, Brruce Atkinson. Okay, so here we go. I'll get through. That's not working. Something's wrong there. Anyway, I'll carry on and I'll ring afterwards. I'll make another one after I ring up. So, this is to you, Brruce Atkinson, the President of the Legislative Council of the Upper House. You are not to use Queen Victoria as your monarch into Westminster Parliament and also to King William IV Parliament in Devonport, England, and also Devonport, New Zealand, of his title and me as his surrogate king. That goes for you to Elizabeth Fife, the Speaker of the House of the Legislative Assembly on the lower house. You must not use Queen Victoria, the corrupted Queen Elizabeth that you're linked to by joinder, and we are going to convict you of treason and fraud with her fraud and Queen Victoria if you use her while I'm talking as the surrogate king of England. Okay? And also Alex Chernoff, the governor, His Honourable Governor of the state of Victoria, Australia. Governor. Okay? You must not get the royal assent to Queen Victoria of Westminster while I'm here claiming to be the King of England. We'll apply the Westminster Acts that forbid you from threatening or jeopardising or compromising Westminster with your Supreme Court of Australia, New Zealand, Canada and America for your federal states and your Commonwealth states of your illegal fraud governments. We now have King of England governments operating and legislative acts from May 2015 to clean out Westminster, and you'll be going straight into the paedophiles ring if you use Queen Victoria. You are now liable today on the 23rd, while you're going through your process now to open your parliament, your 58th parliament, and use any reference to King William IV or Prince William to link him to King William IV is illegal. If you link yourself to Queen Victoria while I'm saying and accusing her as a fraud and corrupted title, monarch and coronation, is now written off as void on the land soil of England. Myself, a Rogan, Wanoa. Rogan, English. and speaking as English on English soil under our flag of the 1835 Declaration of Independence that has been used by Queen Elizabeth too while she was Queen, and everything you made, all the revenue you made and collected for her and kept much of it for yourself to run your governments in all the states, all the Commonwealth states, are now liable to 970 million trillion pound notes levy debtor against each and every one of you. I make this statement today in front of the whole world, and is recorded on the record in England as British UK new acts of King William Parliament and Government Devonport, England. Transfer of powers from there to Westminster, the new Westminster, in May 2015. So today I'm just making this video right now while they're going through their Parliament, setting their Parliament on today 23rd of December 2014. So that you are now liable and a bill on top of your heads against the pound note as collateral, debtor levy, money against the fraud decisions you make. Okay, so that's the consequences of violating King William's Acts of Parliament and also the Acts of Parliament of Westminster today and next year on May 2015. Okay, so I have emailed the letter to Alex Shinov. It's been on Facebook, floating around there in public view for 2 days now, so it has been there as notified publicly, internationally, and Facebook admissible in the High Court of Admiralty in London as evidence for any threats against the present monarch of Westminster, UK government. The EU Parliament is now liable to having Queen Elizabeth inside it, linked to all these states like Victoria and New Zealand. So in New Zealand, the 61 Cook Street property, you'll see that there. I've sent that to them as well. It links the titles here on these lands to the indigenous native titles in Australia that are illegal as well, because they're using our Te Ture Whenua 1993 Native Land Act for their titles on their land, and that's illegal in the land transfer systems that I've made letters to Simon Roundtree and James Brown on 61 Cook Street. 161 Cook Street linked those titles to Australia and Melbourne State of Victoria government, where these titles that they have came from. Okay, so we have British titles of John Rogan in the Manukau, Manukau title, and Dick Rogan in the Wanoa, Oroiti Wanoa, Dick Rogan family here of titles and Esquire Judge, okay, and lawyers mixed up. That's why I'm making these statements as Englishmen and native together in one title. The MOAI statue standing in King William's Great Court in London. Now we're going to change that name from Queen Elizabeth, the second Great Court, where MOAI's statue is standing as a memorial to the world. So I'm here for MOAI, Crown, King William IV memorials, and our flags of MOAI, Pacific, and King William IV, British, UK. Okay, so that's all I want to say for now, because I couldn't get through on that phone number. I'm going to try another one first before I make another video shortly. Thank you very much. It's John Wanoa, Auckland, New Zealand, surrogate King of England, claiming to be the King of England today in front of the Victoria State Government of Australia. To you on Facebook and all you people watching me all the time, this is the final straw. I'm going up to 161 Cook Street owners shortly with their letter affidavit to refute within 7 days, and if they don't, they'll go into a contract with me by default of Doug Rickard Bell's 2008 contract. Okay, so I warned the Alex Shinoff, Elizabeth Fife and Brruce Atkinson, Australia Victoria Government, that if they pass the act to make Queen Victoria their monarch, they have 24 hours to reverse it and to remove it. If they don't, they face being hung, killed, arrested and executed by what they've written as being the laws of Westminster, with their statements that they didn't think this was going to come along and stand in front of them. Okay, so they're liable. They're liable for what they wrote as they're being opening today. You'll see it online, they put it there. Clearly states that the tradition of Westminster states clearly that if the MPs in the House of Commons in Westminster, that's not Australia, that's Westminster in England, jeopardise the monarchy, which is me now, not Queen Victoria, not Queen Elizabeth, because England has not changed from Queen Elizabeth. So they cannot go to Queen Victoria without asking Westminster. So they haven't. They have no person's name to give their royal assent or oath of office to in England. Now, that's what I'm saying. They risk being threatened to as enemy of Westminster and us, the Westminster partners, with the flag, the 1835 Declaration of Independence flag. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll see you later. Bye.